Proverbs 34. Who is the Son of God? Who has gone up to heaven and come down? Who has gathered up the wind in the hollow of his hands? Who has wrapped up the waters in a cloak? Who has established all the ends of the earth? What is his name, and what is the name of his son? Surely you know. Proverbs 34. Proverbs 34 presents a series of rhetorical questions designed to highlight God's unparalleled greatness and authority. But the most intriguing question is the last one. What is the name of his son? How does this verse anticipate the revelation of God's Son? And how can a son be implied without prefiguring Jesus Christ? Let's dive into Proverbs 34 and uncover its profound theological implications. 1. The context of Proverbs 30. Proverbs 30 is attributed to Agur, a lesser-known biblical figure whose words are filled with wisdom and humility. Acknowledging God's greatness. Agur begins by acknowledging his limited understanding compared to God's infinite wisdom. Rhetorical questions. The series of questions in verse 4 emphasize God's sovereign control over creation. A mysterious question. The mention of his son stands out as a profound mystery in the context of Old Testament writings. Challenge. How do skeptics explain the mention of God's Son in a book written long before Jesus' incarnation? 2. The attributes of God in Proverbs 34. The rhetorical questions in Proverbs 34 highlight attributes that belong to God alone. Sovereignty over heaven and earth. Only God can ascend to heaven and descend, a concept echoed in John 3:13. Control over creation. Gathering the wind and wrapping the waters symbolize God's power over the natural world. Establishing the earth. God's authority as creator is affirmed in passages like Genesis 1:1 and Psalm 104:5. Challenge. If these attributes belong exclusively to God, how can his Son also be implicated in them? 3. Who is the Son mentioned in Proverbs 34? The reference to his Son in Proverbs 34 is striking and anticipates New Testament revelation. Foreshadowing the Messiah, the mention of God's Son aligns with Old Testament prophecies of a coming Redeemer. Psalm 2:7, Isaiah chapter 9:6. Revealed in Jesus, the New Testament identifies Jesus as God's Son, who descended from heaven and has authority over creation. John 3:16, Colossians chapter 1:16-17. Consistency. Across Scripture, the Son's role in creation and redemption ties Proverbs 30:4 to passages like John 1:1-3 and Hebrews 1:1-3. Challenge. If Jesus is not divine, how can he fulfill the role of God's Son as described in Proverbs 34? 4. Connection to the Trinity. Proverbs 34 provides a glimpse into the relational nature of God, consistent with the doctrine of the Trinity. The Father, the Creator and Sustainer, whose name reflects his eternal authority. The Son, mentioned explicitly, hinting at his role in creation and redemption. The Spirit, implied through God's control over the wind and waters, often associated with the Spirit's presence. Genesis chapter 1:2, John 3:8. Challenge. If skeptics deny the Trinity, how do they reconcile the relational language and roles implied in this verse? 5. Fulfillment in Jesus Christ. The New Testament confirms Jesus as the fulfillment of Proverbs 34. John 3:13, Jesus declares, "No one has ever gone into heaven except the one who came from heaven, the Son of Man." Colossians chapter 1:15-17. Jesus is described as the image of the invisible God and the creator of all things. Hebrews chapter 1:1-3. Jesus is the radiance of God's glory and the exact representation of his being. Challenge. If skeptics deny Jesus' divinity, how do they explain the prophetic anticipation of God's Son in Proverbs 34? 6. Why this matters understanding, Proverbs 30:4, deepens our appreciation for God's nature and his plan of redemption. God's relational nature. The mention of his Son reveals the relational dynamics within the Godhead. Jesus as the fulfillment. Proverbs 30:4 points directly to Christ's role as the Son of God and Redeemer. A call to worship. Recognizing Jesus as the Son who shares in God's divine attributes inspires awe and devotion. Challenge. If skeptics deny the Trinity, how do they explain the reference to God's Son in Proverbs 30:4, written centuries before Jesus' incarnation? Call to action. What do you think about Proverbs 30:4? Does this verse reveal God's Son as a prefiguration of Jesus Christ, or is there another explanation? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more thought-provoking Bible studies.